There it is. Hello, we live, we hot. Let's try this again. Ready? Can I bring it up? My headphones. Wow, 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 wow. That guitar. There it goes. Man, that is not a clean fade because there's something going on here. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday night. Yes, a special Friday evening of John Marks' Spot. We live, we hot. I last night I was Delco Steve's in Portugal, and I didn't get home in time last night. I would have been starting the show at like 9:30. So I'm like, I just won't do it. And with Mike Miss announcing today that announcing that he's back at the Fanatic, I'm like, you know what? I got some time. I just did a podcast with the Vet Alumni Show. So it will. I'm like, you know what? I'll jump on for half hour, 45 minutes here, and talk about some stuff as the Phillies are set to start a road trip out west. We'll get to that maybe towards the end here. I was in Asbury Park, New Jersey today. Yes, never been there. My mom, actually, I have some pictures. Maybe I can pull them up. But my mom, my grandfather, my mom's dad, is from northern New Jersey, from Clifton, New Jersey. So he grew up going to Ocean Grove, New Jersey, Asbury Park, New Jersey, the northern, not the Ocean City, Sea Isles, Wildwoods, or whatever. And I'd never been there. And she always had talked about it. Ocean Grove, they have these tents in Ocean Grove that are tents, but they have running water, and there's like it's hard to explain. But like I've always just heard about it. So she asked me because we didn't get a chance to go down the shore with her. Me and my kids didn't get a chance to go down the shore with her a lot this year. So she's like, let's take a day trip. So I'm like, all right. I didn't realize it's easier for me to get to Asbury Park, New Jersey, than it is to go to the Ocean City, Sea Isle, certainly Cape May or Wildwood. It's from Willow Grove. It was an hour. I jumped off the turnpike and picked her up in Willow Grove, and then it was an hour from there. So all told, it was like an hour and 35 minutes from my house in Collegeville. It'll take me 2.5 hours easy with traffic, easy, to get down to Ocean City. So it's like, wow, this is actually closer for me to get to. It's really not that far from, depending on where you are in the area. Asbury Park, like, I don't even know if I had a preconceived notion of what it was, but it was cool. It was clean. It's not all that big as far as how many streets there are or whatever. And we only went on the boardwalk. I didn't go on the beach. But yeah, like it was cool. It was pretty cool. Cool to check out. Took some scenic pictures from like the convention hall that they had that's like from the 30s. And yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. So that's what I did today. But I got a text this morning from Bill Colarulo, my buddy, and he was like, "Hey, turn on the Fanatic," and I'm like, "No," and he's like, "They're making an announcement on Mike Miss," and I was like, "Okay," like I didn't turn it on because I didn't turn it on, but Mike Missanelli back to the Fanatic. This would come as no surprise if you're a listener or a viewer of this show. I've been saying it since I don't even know when. Whenever they switched everything up and Andrew went to mornings. So it was it was no surprise. It was everything that I was hearing that was happening. So like I'm happy. I think the way that Mike left the radio sucked. His audience deserved better. Did Mike deserve better? He probably deserved better. He's back. I can't tell you that I've listened to Mike on the radio in a long time, and it's because I was going up against him for 7 years. So no, I have not listened to Mike Missanelli on the radio in a long time. With that being said, Mike was always my favorite host in Philly. The Steve and Mike show was the first Philadelphia sports radio show that I loved. It was an awesome show. I did not like Mike with Howard. I thought Mike and Anthony were pretty good together. And obviously I worked with Mike for a long time. And when he was on with Jason, it's probably my second favorite Mike Miss show was with Jason Bertidis. It was a really, really good show. So I'm happy. Mike's very talented. It's a midday shift. There's a different pace with each day part that you work. Afternoon drive's a little bit of a faster pace. People are coming home from work. They're wanting to hear what happened during the day. They're wanting to hear sports. So a little bit more of a flat line pace during the middays. People are at work. You get salespeople. You get people that are driving for a living. But you don't have the, you know what I mean? It's not as erratic going up. And I think it suits him well at this point, Mike. So I think it's going to be a good show because joining him is Bill Colarulo, who is a friend of mine and somebody that I followed here for the last year or so, who I think is very good. So we'll talk about him coming up in a second. But a lot of people have asked me if Mike, if they think Mike can beat WIP. So there's only been one show in a major day part on the Fanatic that has ever beat WIP. It's from 9:50 a.m. to 97.5. 9:50 a.m. started in October of 2005 to current day, really coming up almost on 20 years, 19 years. There's been one show that has beaten WIP head to head, and it's been Mike. It took us, and I'll say us because I was the producer and second mic on the show. It took us 1 year from when he started in April 2008 to beat Howard in 2009. 1 year. And he never looked back after that. Howard never beat him after that until Howard was then gone. And then he was never beaten again until Josh Innes came to town. And Josh won for, I believe, the first 11 months. And then he completely burned out and Mike took back over. And he continued to win until I started working with Ike. We beat him, and then he beat us up a couple times. We went back and forth, and then ultimately we took over for the last couple years that he was on, and we weren't beaten, and we were winning decisively. And I'll say more than a part of the reason, a big part of the reason is because of the politics. So, it's a problem. It's a problem because he's turned people off from turning him on because they don't like his politics. And I'll just tell you, I can tell you that for sure it helped my show big time that he talked as much politics as he did, that he spent as much time as he did on social media with the politics. He's still tweeting stuff out. I saw it yesterday. I don't even know if I saw it today, but I saw it yesterday. So he's going to continue to do it, and it's his right to do it. He feels strongly about it, and I respect him for his beliefs. But it's not what people tune in to listen to. It's just not. And he can do whatever he wants to. If he continues to mix the politics with the sports, it's going to hurt the show. Period. It already has. So he can make the decision and say, hey, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to talk about sports and politics. Or he can just leave the politics stuff to his social media, which is, you know what? If you want to use your Twitter or whatever for your political views, go for it. Just know you're alienating people. And they're going to be pissed. And if you fight with them back and forth, they're going to be even more pissed. So as long as you leave it off of the air, I think people will deal with it. Because Mike's very talented. Mike's great on the air. I love Mike on the air. I really, really do. He's very easy to work with from certain directions. Like he is talented, and he sets the people up that he works with very well. And you have to know how to react and how to set him up as well. But like he knows what he's doing. Jason had great success with him. Listen, I never listened to Tyrone and Mike, and I never have, and I obviously never will. They don't work together anymore. But he's very, very good. So he's going to be working with Bill. We'll see the dynamic of that show. So when people ask me, do I think Mike can beat WIP? And I think Hugh and Joe Giglio have a really good show. I like their show. When I'm in the car middays, I tune it in. Hugh's funny. I like Joe Giglio a lot. I think he's very good. Joe's a great guy. So I like their show. But I'll definitely be going back and forth. I want to hear what Mike and Bill and is producer Ray Dunn, or is that I'm sorry, Ray, if you're out there. But I know one of the so they're going to have a young producer as well. I'm a little bit surprised. Yeah, it's Ray. I'm a little bit surprised that they went with Bill. Um, it's a no-brainer for him, but it's also like it's going to take a little bit of time to the chemistry. Mike's used to working with producer, second mic, like a clear, not that Bill would be somebody that is challenging to take over the number one microphone or anything like that, but still it's a little bit different than having a producer, having a co-host whose name isn't on the show. Mike will figure it out. It'll be good. But it's a matter of, can he stay focused on the show and not alienate people with the political stuff? Because it's a presidential year, presidential election year. It's already like going batshit crazy with everything, and it's not going to get it's not going to cool down. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. So if he can stay off of that on the air, it's going to be close. I think it'll be a very competitive battle. So I haven't seen ratings recently, but the last time I was looking at ratings, Joe and Hugh have good ratings. But as far as shows on the Fanatic, at least then, they were certainly the most vulnerable. And if I was programming the Fanatic, I would have attacked middays from what they have and the moves they were able to do. I would have hired Mike and I would have put him middays too. Well, it hired me and put me middays. But putting Mike middays is a smart strategical move by the Fanatic. I know a lot of people wanted to see Mike go back to afternoons, and I was reading the Crossing Broad comments or whatever, and they were saying, oh, it's a lock. Mike's going to 2 p.m. He's not going to 2 p.m. He was hired to do 10 p.m. or 10 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tyrone and Ricky are going to continue to do what they're doing, whether you like the show or you don't. Ricky just got a contract extension. I was reading in the radio trades. I don't know if that's been put out there locally, but like that show's going there. They're trying to build on the success. I had heard that their ratings had increased pretty significantly. So I'll be curious to see what's happened with WIP afternoons and how much they've gained on them and if it's really close. Because like I get, someone gave me some weekly ratings. They're like, well, here's some weeklies. And I'm like, yeah, shut up with the weeklies. I don't care about the weeklies. It's about the month and the month and the month. There's 3 months in the book. So what do those months look like? Yeah, you're gonna have down weekly ratings, and it's such bullshit that if you have one person that listens to you and they go away for a week on vacation and they don't listen to you, it can totally tank your ratings. But yeah, so I'll be curious to see how it all goes down. So thumbs up on the Mike hire. I'm happy. I texted with Mike a little bit. I'm happy for him. And I would see this as probably a couple years, 2 or 3 years. I don't see this as a 1 year coming back. He probably, he not only does he want to do it, but this is why I told him, take your vacation, right? Get away, take more vacation, ask for more vacation, take more vacation, and just enjoy yourself doing it. And I think the midday pace will do him well at this point. So we'll see. I'll be listening. I think they start the 12th coming up. So, but it is, and another thing with Mike, and I'll be curious to see how it works at the station. Everything that I hear, and Mike's never said this to me, and I have no relationship with Tyrone, so he's never said this to me, is that they hate each other. And that they're actually moving, and again, this is just what someone told me, that they're moving the area that Tyrone gets prepared for the show, or like has a desk or something. They're moving it somewhere else so him and Mike have less interactions. That's not good. That's not good. The last thing you want is someone coming in that is going to cause things to become toxic. And there have been instances at the station that things have become toxic when I worked there. And from what I heard, the whole afternoon show was toxic towards the station. Again, this is from other people at the station. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's just kind of what I heard from people that have no reason to make stuff up or whatever. So there's that. If you're a program director, like Mike can be very difficult to deal with. If the morning show is going to get a big Sixers guest and Mike's not getting them, That's going to be a problem because Mike is Mike Missanelli. He's going to want the big guess. So if John Kincaid and Salchunas say, no, we want Nick Nurse, or no, we want this player, and Mike doesn't get him, and Mike's very competitive. Same thing with the afternoons. So I worry about the chemistry among the staff, which is a big thing. At WIP, we all got along. I like everybody, right? Even though DeCamera's kind of a weenie, Joe and I are friends. Middays, nights, or whatever, we get along with everybody. We bust balls and everything like that. Yes. But if we're already going in and the afternoon host and the midday host don't like each other, and like, listen, I'm not telling you that there's anything wrong with John Kincaid because he doesn't talk about it on the air. I feel like there's maybe some differences in political views between Mike and Kincaid that maybe that Mike senses, and maybe not. But I can see a scenario where Mike's driving into work and John's driving him crazy by doing something or whatever. And again, I know Mike very well, and I know how he operates. So very talented, but there's other things that come with him. And I certainly wouldn't want to be a program director that would have to deal with him. I say this, and I like Mike, and I would say this to his face, which I guess I'm kind of doing right now. But so that's the dynamic at the Fanatic. Really what they're doing is they're saying, man, we need something. We need listeners. And we need somebody and Mike's right here. He wants to come back. We can bring him back. It's kind of an easy thing. And Bill Colarulo coming up in 1 second. I want to talk about him. But a couple other things just with the station itself, with the Fanatic itself. I've heard a lot of this with the Crossing Broad guys. I heard Russ and Kevin Kincaid talking about this on the Crossing broadcast. I've seen it written. I've actually heard internally that there are some people that work at the Fanatic that believe that they should not talk Eagles nearly as much as they do. And they've started talking more Eagles with the program director, Scott Messeller, coming in. But there's a thought among some, I'll say, lower level staffers that it's like, why would we even talk Eagles? WIP is going to beat us. So let's talk Sixers and Flyers. Well, yeah, that's stupid. All right. If you talk 76ers and you talk Flyers and you ignore the Eagles, just go out of business. What your job is at the station is to create content that people want to listen to. And if that means you're talking about the Eagles, or you're not talking about the Eagles and you're talking about bullshit, or you're talking about whatever it is, you need people to listen to you. And during the NFL season and during the draft, during free agency, when something big happens in the NFL, not just the Eagles, and Eagles specific because it's in Philadelphia, but in the NFL, you know what you see? Everybody tunes in. Right? Like I was looking at PHLY and I'm doing PHLY stuff, filling in for Anthony or whatever. But when big things were happening in football, guess what? All the page views, the YouTube views, way up. When stuff happens with the Eagles or during football season, listeners, way up. Online stream listeners, way up. Remember when Ben Simmons got traded for James Harden? Happened at like 1 o'clock, 12:30 in the afternoon, right before we were coming on at 2 o'clock. The online stream went up. I don't know the numbers, but it wasn't significant. People didn't run to the app and say, I got to turn on WIP. They didn't do the same thing with the Fanatic. WIP actually gets more run from the 76ers than the Fanatic does, which is insane to think because they're the rights holder. But the point is that if people aren't running to put on the app or to put on the radio when Ben Simmons is traded, then when are they doing that for? Well, when anything happens big with the Eagles, the Monday after an Eagles game, the Tuesday after an Eagles game, free agency, huge spikes. So the idea that the Fanatic should counter program WIP and not concentrate on football as much is totally asinine. What you need to do is you need to do it better. You need to do it different. You can't constantly be pounding the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe, right? It works for WIP. Keep it a little bit fresher. Do it a little bit differently. But say something that means something and make it entertaining as well. Like you have a radio station just like WIP has a radio station, right? WIP is going to be very difficult. The Fanatic's not going to beat them. Let's face it. All right. And should they be trying to? Of course they should. But reality is they're not going to beat them. Doesn't mean that shows couldn't beat them. It doesn't mean they couldn't be more competitive. So you don't do that by talking more 76ers. You do that by being better and being a better show and do better radio. Talking Flyers and 76ers. Right? Great. Talk about the 76ers. The hell are you going to say about the Sixers right now? You gotta pound the NFL. National shows do the same thing. The NFL is king. The NFL sets TV ratings every year. When you look at the top TV shows over a course of a season, 40 of them are NFL games. That's for a reason. So there you go. Bill Colarulo. Let me look at some of the comments here. Mike and John would never worked. He thinks he is above everyone. All right, so it's a good segue to, and thank you, Dan Kelly. It would I work with Mike again if I was asked? I don't know. I have other things that I have going on that should be released here coming up here in the next week or two. But it would be very attractive because Mike puts on good radio. Here's the only thing that I'm worried about. All right, and I'll bring you inside a little bit here because a lot of people ask me, well, how the hell aren't you going to the Fanatic? Well, like I talked to the Fanatic, and there was some interest. There was mutual interest, but it had to work for both of us. And the interest that they had, I was not interested in because the only thing that I have is, and I know that I have a family and I have to pay the bills and things like that. And like, so when, I tell my wife, no, I'm not going to do this. And she's like, well, what do you mean? But anyway, like, I got to feel like that I can put on a great show that people are going to listen to and people are going to love. I was involved with that with Mike. I felt like when I worked with Sean Brace, we really had something that was pretty cool. It was the first really younger show that was different from other shows. And I thought it was a really, really cool show. And then working with Anthony in the mornings, I thought was cool. And then with Ike the last 7 years was awesome. Loved it. So I would have to believe that any show I would do could win and would win. And I just didn't feel like that. So I hope at one day, if I ever make it back on radio, it will only be because I am so desperate for money, or it's an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. And working with Mike would be a great opportunity. All right, so Bill Colarulo, he was he is an amazing talent. If you don't know Bill, he was a lawyer. He had his own practice. He was an injury lawyer over in Jersey. Sold it not even 2 years ago, I don't think. And we have a mutual friend who introduced Bill to me and said, hey, here's what he's doing. He's doing a podcast. He's trying to make it in the business, blah, 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 blah. And I went on his podcast and I'm like, yo, dude, like, you're good, man. You're good. Keep it up. Keep it up. And he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and working his way up and doing the Jacob Media stuff for free, I believe. I don't know if he was getting paid for any of that. And making videos on Instagram. And he got the job at the Fanatic, and he has done amazing. He's been doing weekends. He's been doing the top fill-in guy, and not surprised he got the job. Mildly surprised because I don't think it's a great fit, but it's a way to keep him. Because I can just tell you this: there would have been demand for him. I have opportunities that are out there. Bill and I have discussed opportunities and working together. I would absolutely work with him in the future. He's amazingly talented, and probably as important, he's a really good dude, a genuinely good guy, which is important when you're going to have a partnership with somebody. So Mike's got a good co-host for sure. And I think that the way that they were going to keep him was like, hey, there's not an open spot right now for you in your own day part, but like, co-host on Mike's show. This is a huge show. You have an opportunity to more or less make your radio career on this show. I did, working with Mike in the middle of 2000s. But so it's a great opportunity for Bill. And now it becomes, can these two guys figure out a way to have good chemistry on the air and to put on an entertaining product? I think they can. Certainly entertaining. But it's also like it may take a little bit of time. It might. So yeah, Bill's awesome. So I'm excited for him. This will be pretty good. But again, it's like, I'll be curious to hear what everything is what everything's like, what the show sounds like. Mikey missing Johnny Marks. That's not the one I'm looking for. I already put that one up there. Oh, here we go from Reps. You and Mike, who's first chair? Well, that's easy. It's Mike. Yeah, it's Mike. He's not playing second fiddle to anybody. Right? Like if they were going to hire me and I said, "Hey, Mike, you want to be on the show with me?" He would say no. It would have to be him and then bringing me on. So could my ego do that? Yeah. So it's not about ego. It's about putting on the best show. Seriously, that's what it's about. Like when I look at everything that I've done in radio in Philly, it's important to me how people look back at me. And I'm just looking through the comments here of the comments from me being on with Sean Brace or whatever. But like, I mean, it's kind of weird that I feel like that because I really don't really care about that kind of stuff in general. But yeah, like my place in sports radio history in Philadelphia does mean something to me. So I don't want to do a show that is shit and that I hate. And I don't want to show up every day for it. And I'm miserable, right? I didn't have that with Ike. I loved working with Ike and Jack. It was awesome. It was just everything else, the commute and everything else. I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm cool, right? So if I ever get back in radio, because I have a fantastic opportunity that's coming up, I for sure will. I for sure would have to. It'd have to be the right situation. All right, one more thing here, and then probably wrap it up. Maybe do some Phillies, but what was I gonna say? Oh, so just one quick other thing on Bill and Bill Colarulo is, like I said, he's a good dude. He would never say this on the air, or he would never say this publicly, but I will. So when I'm at WIP, for whatever reason, it's weird. You would think that people that I'm kind of backing or saying like, hey, take a look at this guy or whatever, that you'd be like, hey, like, you know, my afternoon drive host who is like Rain Man Radio, he like, that's all he like cares about and everything else. Like maybe I should take a look at him. So Bill used to email the program director at WIP, Rod Lakin. And Rod, I love you, brother, but this is true. He emailed him every day, and he would CC me on the emails. And he'd be like, Rod, here's another, I interviewed Merrill Reese for my podcast. Take a listen. Hey, Merrill, I interviewed. And he was getting big time views on these videos because they were good. And Rod never emailed him back once. Now, program directors you get some that will email back everybody or almost everybody or whatever. He'd never emailed him back once. And because if he did, and this is what I said to Bill at the time, I'm like, Bill, if he doesn't want you, if he's not emailing you back, like screw him. Scott Messeller just took over at the Fanatic. Like, go talk to him. So he wouldn't even email him back. So he goes from there to the Fanatic, and the Fanatic's like, yeah, we'll give you a shot. And then that turned into weekends, and that turned into fill-ins. And look at this. I mean, he got fast-tracked, man. He really did. Less than 2 years after entering media, he's already got a day part with Mike Missanelli. But yeah, so like I say that it was a really, really poor decision to not even email him back. I could see this guy was going to be awesome. He even emailed the market manager, David Yageroff, and Yad emailed him back and said, yeah, email Rod. For whatever reason, Rod wouldn't get back to him, which was weird to me. So that was that. Now, I wouldn't say we would have to rank it. I guess we have to see where Bill goes from here. But once upon a time when I was at the Fanatic, Eric Camille, who was the one-time assistant program director at the station, and he used to make like the schedules for the producer, and he didn't particularly like me. I used to bring my interns, including Delco Steve, and Delco Steve can tell you the story. We probably have, but they would come in with me when I worked mornings. I'd be like, get here at 4:00. You want to get here at 5:00? Get here at 5:00. But I'm doing all the good work at 4:00. So Delco Steve would come in at 4:00 as an unpaid intern, and Coach Camille was like, you can't come in. It's too early. He can only come in right at 6:00. I'm like, yeah, but like that's like this kid wants to be in the business. This is what you want. They can't do it. I'm like, okay, fine, can't do it. But like all of a sudden he became like anybody that was my guy, like Delco Steve, was not getting hired at the Fanatic. I felt bad about it because he should have gotten a job. Jack Fritz was also my guy. Absolutely, between him and Delco Steve, they were both different, and they kind of they were rivals of each other because I really like Steve because Steve was an audio guy. He loved cutting audio, and he had a real ear for it. Really talented with shit like that. And Jack was Jack, really talented with other stuff. They were actually a perfect balance to each other when Jack was my intern, but wouldn't hire Jack. They hired this kid, and I'm not going to mention his name because he doesn't need to get ripped. But it'd be like drafting Sam Bowie. And I'm not trying to call Jack Michael Jordan, but you get where I'm going here. Yeah. Yeah, this kid, I don't even think he lasted 2 months, and people were like, get him out of here. And Jack went over to WIP, and then you see where he is right now. Huge star. So that'll be a Twitter poll one day. Worst decision. Rod Lakin not emailing Bill Colarulo back, or Eric Camille not hiring Jack Fritz because of me, because he was my guy. Well, there you go. And yes, Eric Camille was Eric Camille was I'll just say that. There you go. And Coach Camille was named Coach Camille. Sal Palantonio actually called him Coach Camille because he was his producer for the Sal Pal Football Hour. So he started calling him Coach because he said every quarterback needs a coach, and I'm the coach of the Sal Pal Show, and I'm the quarterback of the Sal Pal Show, and he's the coach. So then everybody just started calling him Coach. But anyway, there you go. Jack's more LeBron than Jordan. Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, Sal. I don't think Sal Pal's been on the station in a while. Man, I got Mike and Sal Pal stories. Yeah, I got Johnny Marks and Sal Pal stories too. We went at it a couple times, but we're good. So I'm not gonna. I got Sal stories in general. I like Sal. I'll say that. Like Sal's a good dude. I like Sal. That's what I mean. I like Sal. Will he get Sal back? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if Sal wants to do it anymore. I don't know if Mike wants to do it anymore. But yeah, I do think, yeah, they did. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember being told Sal's not doing the show anymore. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, he was doing, I mean, that was like 15, not 15 years, but close. Yeah, close. For sure. It's a long time. They were good. Tuesdays with Sal, 5:15. Jason Stark at 4:30 and Sal Palantonio at 5:15. Sound off at 5:45. We killed it. We set that show. That was a great show. I know a lot of people don't remember me with Mike. I get far few people saying me with Mike than I even believe. I don't know. Anyway, so congratulations to those guys. As far as Fanatic beating WIP Mornings, and again, I haven't seen the latest ratings, but WIP Mornings is just crushing it. Those guys are doing great. And afternoons, I'll say this because I'm getting a lot of people that are complaining about the afternoon show and Spike, and I know Vince is going to have their back right here. Is that I think that they're coming into their own right now, and it's a transition. Sometimes new shows click right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time before they figure out their identity. Everybody kind of figures out everybody's personality that they're going to be playing on the show. I got to get rid of this comment here. Sorry. So it is far too early to judge the long-term viability of WIP afternoons. And I haven't seen, I'll say this again, I haven't seen ratings. I had heard ratings were maybe not great or not as good as they were previously, but every show is different, and it's really, really difficult sometimes. Might take 6 months, might take a year. But as long as they get rolling during football season, and it feels like to me that they're starting to pick up some momentum right now, that's when people typically are tuning in. Despite what people are saying, oh, we'll just talk about the Sixers, don't talk about the Eagles. Wait, the number of listeners during football season is, I don't know if it's double, it might even be more than it is right now. So it's great. I'm getting some people that are watching that are texting me saying Camille was such a douche. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, he was one of these guys that I would I would send some young people to and be like, hey, I email this guy and just be like, can I interview you? Like, I'm in college, I'm trying to get into the business. Can I try to be on the ground crew or whatever? And he would just never get back to him. So, all right, there you go. The Phillies are on the West Coast. Is this the 10 o'clock game or is it already started? I don't even know. Let's see. That top second. Oh, the Phillies are already losing. No shit. What do we have here? We put Tyler Phillips in there. He gives up a home run. And Woo is going for the Mariners. Brian Woo. Woo! Oh, he's got a 2.35 ERA. I heard that they're starting pitching as the best whip, or they're pitching as the best whip in baseball or something like that. Put on your seatbelts, folks. It is going to be a bumpy ride here. Next 10 games, I would sign up right now for 4 wins and 6 losses. Easy. 4 and 6. Might be looking at 3 and 7. Who knows? Maybe they surprise us, but it feels like that this is going to be another rough stretch. And from here, now how do you bounce back from that? Sometimes, and I caught myself saying this as well after they got swept by the Yankees, which was, it's a really good time to go on a road trip, to get out of town. You get the day off on Thursday, get away from the families. As a group, as a team, you bond together. This is where you get that chemistry that takes you for the rest of August into September, boom, into the playoffs. And I just don't believe that. I don't think this is a great time for a road trip for the Phillies in the way they're playing. In particular, because they're playing the Mariners, who are good, the Dodgers, who they swept back in right before the All-Star break, right? In Philly, revenge series. And then Arizona, who, I mean, let's see what they do this year. But Arizona's been playing well of late as it also. So let me actually see where the Diamondbacks are in the standings here. Yeah, Arizona's 8 games over 500, and they're 8-2 in their last 10. So you may be facing these teams at the wrong time. So I don't feel great about this road trip. And I'm not throwing in the white towel, and I'm not saying, oh, the Phillies are screwed or whatever. But they wouldn't be the first team that played their best baseball, football, basketball, or whatever early in the season and then kind of ran out of gas. I'm a little bit worried about that, in particular with the starting pitching. You weren't going to have these starters pitch at this level the entire year. It just wasn't going to happen. And the bullpen, Strom was so good. Hoffman was so good. Think about how good the staff was. Think about how good the bullpen was. They had 5 freaking pitchers in the All-Star game. 3 starters in the All-Star game. Difficult to do that for the entire season. Zach Wheeler, I don't know if he's gassed or he's just whatever, but it's so yeah. Like I'm not envisioning an Eagles collapse of historic proportions where they missed the playoffs, but am I convinced that they're going to go into the playoffs and we're going to be like, "Yep, we got this, let's go"? No, I'm not. We saw what happened the last 2 years. Phillies were the hot team in the playoffs. Boom, World Series. Last year, the Diamondbacks, they were the hot team going into the playoffs. Boom, World Series. Can the Phillies reestablish that and get on a hot streak? Yeah, they can. But they need to do it. And ultimately, I think the Phillies are going to be fine. They're going to win the East, and they're going to win a lot of games. Let's see what happens when we get to the playoffs. Let's see how the team's playing. And that's it's kind of like I'm not freaking out. People aren't getting fired. I'm not making lineup changes just yet. But let's see what they look like when they come home from the road trip and kind of regroup right there. It's nice because I won't see a lot of these games. I'm not up that late, so I will not see a lot of these games in its entirety. I DVR them. I watch the YouTube replay because they'll show every out and every hit from the game, which is actually great. You can watch the whole game in 10 minutes. So I always watch that. But yeah, it's awesome. The Cuz and Johnny Marks mornings. On which station? 97.5 The Fanatic or 94 WIP? Because the Cuz and Johnny Marks were in the mornings at 97.5 The Fanatic, along with Jamie Lynch and MC Dubs way back in the day. Yeah. Yep. No, I don't like Philly sports radio, like for me these days, I'm listening when I'm in my car, and I really don't listen that much other than that. And I'm not in the car a ton. So there's short drives here and there. And they're normally during midday hours. So like I said, I listen to Hugh and Gilio. And I'll be curious to hear what Mikey Miss and Bill has to say. What else do I have here before I get out of here? Let me see here. Oh, so really should have talked about this earlier. But Bob Cooney, who was let go by the Fanatic. I like Bob a lot. I think Bob's really talented, and none of the none of the shows or nobody that's on the radio, like not everybody necessarily, like you feel like, well, he deserved better, right? Like a lot of people deserve better than how they exit from radio. And I thought Bob did a really good job, and I would have been curious to see what he would have looked like with Mike. I've known for a while that Mike was coming back, and I knew that Mike was going into middays, but I didn't know if they were going to keep Bob or not. So when I talk about it on here that Mike's coming back, I'm not sharing every detail that I have because I know people's jobs are in jeopardy, and I wasn't privy to what they were doing with Bob. I had no idea. I just knew Mike more or less was coming back. So I didn't really want to divulge too much into where Mike was going. But then when I heard that when Bob tweeted out that he was gone, I was like, all right, well, he's not going to be working with Mike. But to where I didn't know if they were going to try to stick him with Mike. Because I think Bob as a number two can be very good. Bob's a good dude. He's funny. He's knowledgeable. I like him. Obviously, he's great on the Sixers. I like him on baseball, too. I like him on the Phillies. He's a knowledgeable Phillies fan. He's good. Bob's good. So just remember that the famous saying of one door closes, another opens. It's true. So I don't know if that's PHLY. I know a lot of people are connecting those dots. Yeah, it would make sense. They have their Sixers guys though right now, and that show is really really starting to gain steam with Devon and Kyle and Derek Bodner. But yeah, is there room for him at the network? I don't know, but I know he's talented and he'll land on his feet for sure. Yeah, so I felt bad when I heard it, but I was worried that it was coming. You never like to see anybody in this business lose their job, and then when that happens, it's like, oh, but Tyrone gets to keep his job, and like this guy sucks and he gets to keep his job. Man, like this is a tough business. This is a tough business. So you're thankful for when you're employed because I've been fortunate enough to be able to pick when I want to leave, and I've never been fired. Well, I was fired from CBS Sports Radio for talking about Odyssey being bankrupt, but I was never let go because of ratings performances or anything like that. But at some point, Grim Reaper's going to get me. I don't think I'm gonna be able to be unscathed my entire career. So, but shout out to Bob. Bob's a good dude. And hopefully he sooner than later picks something up because Bob's awesome. So there you go. Any more comments in here? Let me see. Going through. Bob and Amy Fadul, good midday pace, good chemistry between those two guys for sure. For sure. Bob's a pro. Yeah. So radio's not his thing. Man, I don't know. Maybe not as a number one on a show. I don't. Could he go to WIP part-time? Yeah, of course he could. Tell me Bob couldn't do nights or weekends at WIP or do fill-ins at WIP? Of course he could. But then again, Harry and Jason Martinez haven't done that. And I love those guys. I would like to hear them back on the air. Harry and Jason, I love Harry. I would love to work with Harry again on the radio. I'd love to work with Jason on the radio for sure. Harry's awesome. Love him. So maybe in my next stop or where I'm going, I'll try to have Jason and Harry involved in the whatever. Hair is looking great. Thank you, Michael. The summer's been good to me. If you want the honest truth, I've been enjoying my summer in the pool and the sun while my wife is working. But reality is not far away. I can't. I have 9 months off of work. I'm doing Bet Parks out of the parks of John Marks. And that's work. That's 1 day a week. I'm doing other stuff for him. But it's been nice to spend time with the kids and be out at the pool. That's where I've been, right there. Cuz can't go back to the Fanatic, and I can't go back to WIP. I guess people were saying that show before. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Cuz it's all in at PHLY, and yeah, I probably cannot go back to WIP. Harry and Bruno. Yeah, the first time around they were really good. The Bruno and Mays show, the first Bruno and Mays show was really, really good. I agree with you. I love Tony. I worked with Tony for a year. I didn't necessarily love working with Tony, but Tony is talented. I love listening to his nighttime show when he had Into the Night on. We carried it on the Fanatic, but Tony's amazingly talented. I've always been a big fan of Tony Bruno. Yeah, Tony's doing some kind of he's on like Big Mama Radio or something. And when I say that, I'm not kidding. Big Mama Radio, Tony Bruno. Let me see. Yes, Big Mama Radio launches the Tony Bruno Sports Network. So Tony Bruno is on Big Mama Radio. Yep. I don't know if he's still on Big Mama Radio, but that's where he was before. Big Mama was a Florida radio personality that got laid off or is out of the business, and he started like an internet station, and Tony was a part of that. So there you go. Still talk with Ike and Jack. I'll text with Jack occasionally. I haven't talked to Ike in a while, not because of anything, but yeah, Harry ain't coming back. I don't necessarily believe that. I was talking to Harry and Jason today. I talk to those guys on a like regular basis. I think Harry would, given the right situation, Harry would like to come back. I was pitching Harry and Jason to the Fanatic. Me, Harry, and Jason to the Fanatic. Sure, Harry's talked about meeting with the Fanatic. I don't really get it. I don't really get why they weren't looked at as a more viable option. Sometimes you have contracts and you have guys locked in the contracts, so you know that like you can't bring on a certain number of guys. And I think it was a number situation with the Fanatic, but I felt like that being on with Harry and Jason would have been a tremendous show. And I would like to work with them in the future, either digitally, which is what I want to do now, or who knows? Maybe I should stop talking before I get myself in trouble and end up with not a job coming up. All right. Oh, so the Phillies are now down 4-0. Yeah. No one. Did you really expect the Tyler Phillips story to continue being a great one? Yeah, you can always be hopeful, but the Phillies are now behind 4-0 in the bottom of the second inning. Bryce Harper struck out in his only at bat of the game. I tell you, man, he looks spooked. Bryce looks spooked in that Yankee series, for sure. All right, everybody, I'll be back next week. I got to get Herb on. I know I keep saying this. Hold on a second. They still have my text line intro going on? No way. I mean, like, I shouldn't I get paid for that? Like a penny for every day that I do it? It is awesome. Oh, I should definitely get paid for that. All right. Well, there you go. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. Oh, I have outro music. I just have to find it. Here it is. And look for an announcement from me. Hopefully soon, if I just didn't talk my way out of a job. Which is what my wife's worrying about. But I'll be cool. Herb next week? Maybe. Every time I text him, it's like he can't. He's too busy working. And then he'll call me at the worst possible time ever. All right, everybody. Peace. Oh, by the way, subscribe at John Marks Media. you're watching on Twitter, go to my YouTube, subscribe, like, comment. I am tan. Okay, I want to say I don't look bad tonight. I look old. I was like trying to take a selfie to send to my wife while she was at work, and I was like, Jesus Christ! Like I finally look old. I didn't like what I saw, but I'm tan. The hair is looking good tonight. It's like coiffed almost. Thank you, Dr. Glad. Rest in peace. All right, everybody.